Hi, my name is Trey Brimmer. I'm with Mitel. Today I'm going to go over the 5330 phone with you. We're going to kind of look at the phone, start kind of at the top, work our way through all the buttons. Then we're going to talk about voicemail briefly. So let's go ahead and get rolling. A couple of things to remember. You do not need a 1 for long distance calling. So you can get rid of the 1, sort of like your cell phone. You don't need a 1 for that. You do need the area code for all outside calling. So area code, phone number, even for local calling. The mailbox password is 1111 by default. Once you go in the first time though, it's going to have you set up a brand new passcode. So be prepared for what numbers you want to use. It could be 4 to 12 digits. If you accidentally dial 911, don't hang up. A lot of people think they've hung up before it was answered, so it won't be detected, but it is. So a lot of times they'll dispatch an officer out to the building, and eventually, if not immediately, it'll cost for their trip. So make sure you stay on the phone, let them know it was a mistake, and then they won't dispatch. To make an outgoing call on this phone, you'll dial 9 first, and then the area code and phone number. For internal extensions, you just dial the extensions, and once all the branches are interconnected, you should just dial the extension to get to somebody rather than dial the outside number. Let's go ahead and take a look at the phone. What we're going to do is start at the very top with the message indication lamp, and then we're going to work our way down the right-hand side, and then we're going to start at the top and go down the center. Okay. So let's start at the very top. First thing is your message indication lamp. It'll blink when you have brand new messages. You have your volume up and down. This adjusts each piece of volume separately. So if you pick up the handset, you can adjust the handset volume. If you press the speaker key, which is the next key over, you can adjust the speaker key volume up or down. And then if the phone is ringing, leave the handset on the cradle for a second and you can adjust the ringer volume up and down. Then when you pick up the handset, it'll save that volume. The speaker key is the next key over, but you don't have to press speaker to be on speaker phone. All you have to do is leave the handset in the cradle and then begin dialing out by dialing 9, the area code and phone number. Or if you dial the extension and leave the handset in the cradle, you'll be on speaker automatically. When you want to go to hands-free or to your handset, you'll pick up the handset and it immediately goes to your handset. So the only time you really need to press the speaker key is if you're on the handset and you want to go to speaker. You'll press the speaker key once and then you can hang the handset up. The next key over, it looks like a clear key, is your mute key. It'll mute the headset, handset, or speaker. So it's clear right now, but it lights up when you have mute it. So when you turn it on, it'll light, and when you turn it off, it'll be unlit. So pretty much that's how all the buttons work on this phone. They'll blink or light up when they're on, and when they're off, they'll just not be lit. Here's your next set of buttons. These are your fixed function keys. These 6 buttons, we'll just start over here with the blue button and work our way through. The first one is called an applications key. An applications key is where all the settings are at. This is also the key we're going to go through to look at a few features. One of them is your call history. It's going to give you a listing of the last 20 calls that you've either received, made, or missed. That way you can kind of look at those. You'll also set up forwarding through here. If you wanted to forward your calls to another destination, you would set up through here. And we put a button on the front of your phone so you'll be able to turn it on and off easily. And then this is the key you'll also go into to set up any blank keys on your phone. So if you have a blank key and you want to make it an outside number or an extension number, you can go ahead through this blue key and set that up. And I'm going to do one with you together, and we'll kind of look at the other functions that are in there when we do that. The next key over is your cancel key. It's a little circle with an X in it. This is for when you're canceling a transfer, or maybe it's a conference. You have 3 or 4 people on a conference call and you try to add somebody and it goes to their voicemail. You can cancel that and go back to the rest of the callers. Or if you're trying to transfer a call and you dial the wrong extension, you can hit this cancel key and it'll take you back to the original caller and you can start over. It is also used if you're wearing a headset. You can hit the cancel key to hang up. So if you, it actually will hang up if you use this when you're just on a call with somebody on the handset as well. But that's what the cancel key does for you. The 1, 2, 3 in the arrow key is your redial key. It'll redial the last outside number or internal extension that you dialed. While the phone is idle, it'll display the redial location on the display. I'll show you that in a little bit. And when you press this button, that's what it's dialing. You have your hold key here. The hold key will place a call on hold, and you can go grab a file or whatever. To retrieve off of hold, you'll just hit the flickering line key. And I'll show you where those line keys are when we get to the center. This key is a dual function. It's your transfer and your conference key. So you can see it looks like an arrow, and then it looks like 3 people or a little girl pigtails, it looks more like to me. But that's your transfer and your conference key. The way it works, probably similar to how yours works now. I have a call and I want to transfer it. I'll go ahead and press this button, dial your extension, and then I hang up the phone to complete it. If I wanted to announce it to you, it's the exact same thing, except I'll press the transfer key, dial your extension, and I'll stay on the phone. And I'll hear your phone ring. You'll pick up. We can have a private conversation. And then when I hang up my phone, it'll then send the call. If for some reason I was going to transfer this to you and I hit the transfer, dialed your extension, and you said, no, I don't want that call, I could then go up above and hit the cancel key and go back to the caller and start over. You also have the ability to transfer to an outside number by hitting transfer 9, the area code and phone number, and then you can have the same functionality where you could just hang up to send it out there or stay on the line and have the person pick up and announce it to them, then hang up to complete it. So it works the same for internal and outside transfers. The other function of this key is going to be the conference. You can conference up to 8 people, including yourself, on a conference call. It can be a combination of internal or outside or all internal, it doesn't matter. It all works the same way. It's almost identical to a transfer where I have a caller on the line, and then either I've reached out to them or they've called in and I need to add somebody else in. I'll press this key one time, I'll hear dial tone. I can then dial your extension or an outside number. And then instead of hanging up, I'll go ahead and hit the button one more time, and that'll connect us all together. So the only difference between a transfer and a conference is a transfer I'll hang up to complete, and a conference I'll press the conference transfer button again to connect. Then if I want to add someone else in, I'll just say hold on, I'll press the key again, I'll hear dial tone, I can then go ahead and dial another extension or outside number. Once I connect to that person, I have the same functionality I would with a transfer, announced transfer, where I can have a private conversation. Can you hop onto this conference? If they say sure, I hit the button. If they say no thanks, I can hit cancel right above that and go back to the other callers. So you can see that's well positioned to be able to go back and forth between these two keys. Okay. The next key over is your messages key. This is your access into your voicemail. Earlier I told you there's a message waiting lamp up top. I showed you where that was. The message waiting lamp will blink in tandem with this key. That's why it looks kind of clear here. It'll be blinking when you have new messages. To access your voicemail, if it's blinking or not, it's exactly the same. You just want to pick up the handset or hit speaker and press the messages key. When you do that, it'll ask for your passcode. Right now it's 1111, but when you go in the first time, it's going to have you set up a new one, and you're good to go. You're in. You can listen to your new messages. You can listen to saved messages. You can go into your options and change your greeting or your passcode or your name. So you'll have your access right there. You can also do a transfer straight to voicemail with this key. So if I had a call come in and I decided you're out of the office and I wanted to transfer the call straight to your voicemail so the customer didn't have to hear a bunch of rings, rather than hit the transfer key, I could just hit the messages key and then dial your extension. It'll send it straight to your voicemail box. So nice and quick and easy on that. So now that we talked about the right-hand side of the phone, the rest of that's just your phone dial pad or keypad. We're going to start down the top and work our way down. So let's look at that. Here's kind of a picture. It's a little kind of squashed there, but you get the idea. This is the display of your phone. The first little top part area, this will display the time and date. So that'll always display up there. Then you have a hard line and a dotted line. Between those two lines, you can see this is where it has the redial. So it'll have the either outside number or the extension number of the last number you dialed. It'll display in there when the phone is idle. But this area is informational. You'll notice that there's no buttons over here associated to it because it just gives you information depending on what's going on with the phone. When we are doing that conference call that we talked about, On this display, it would say 3-person conference, 4-person conference. As you add people in, it'll show how many people are added in. This is also where you'll look to when the phone is ringing to give you caller identification information. It'll tell you internal name and extension of someone internally calling you. So it's a good informational area to look at. Anytime the phone is making a sound, a ring or a ring spurt, you should look to this area to see the caller identification information. Below the dotted line and before this hard line, you have this area that's a soft key area. These won't be, you won't be able to program these keys to be anything. It's always just set up for you. The first thing it's set in there is your phone book. This is a way you can access anybody who has a phone on the system by last name. You'll press the key over here next to it, and then it'll ask you to put in a few letters of the person's last name. You can just put in a single letter using the keypad on the phone, or you can, obviously the more letters you put in of the last name, the closer you're going to get. And then these buttons will turn into search. You'll be able to search the next match, or you can go backwards, and then when you find the person, you can hit call and call them. So that's all going to be displayed up here. This does give you some other functionalities, but it's duplications of buttons that you have, just to give you some soft, quick ways of transferring and that sort of thing. Below the this hard line here are some fixed keys we put on there. The first one is D&D. That's do not disturb. When the key is lit, it means it's on. So if you are doing D&D, all your calls are going straight to voicemail, internal or outside. If someone calls your direct dial number, it'll go straight to voicemail, or even if someone transfers a call, it'll go to voicemail. So if you go to lunch, you're out of the office, you're on vacation, good habit to get into. That way people don't have to hear a bunch of rings, either internally hearing it ring or the customer doesn't hear a bunch of rings before it goes to voicemail. The next key down is your headset on and off. This is how you'll turn your headset on if you have a wired headset. If you have a lifter kit and like a Plantronics headset, you may not need this button. If you don't need it, you can repurpose the button to be something else, maybe an outside number or an extension number or something. But if you have a wired headset, you would want to use this and have it on to use that wired headset. The next key down is your forward key. So this is a forward on and off. This isn't where you'll set up the number to forward to. This is just once you've set up the number, how you're going to turn that on and off. The way we'll set up the number is through that applications, that blue key we talked about earlier. We'll go through that key to set up the number, but then I can turn it on and off from this button. So this is like a toggle once it's on the screen. Now you have this 1, 2, 3 buttons here that are blank. You can see there's no label next to them. Those are available for you to program to be whatever you'd like. It could be an outside number, an extension number, or maybe a feature that you like. So maybe if you can't figure out how to do that transfer, or that key's eluding you somehow, you could put a transfer key up here or something like that. So there's some real estate on the phone. These 3 keys are part of that you can program. If you look at the very bottom here, you can see it says 1 and you see 3 pages. There's actually 2 more pages of buttons. It's from this line down that they're available. So it's 8 keys on per page that you will have, except for the first page, which we put a few buttons on there. But you have 3 on this page, and then you have an additional 16 on the other 2 pages that you could program to be, cell phone numbers or extensions or whatever you like. The last 2 keys on the phone, the first one, I'll start down at the bottom, is your extension number. That's actually line 1. It just displays your extension number when the phone is idle, like it is here. But when a call comes in, up top it's going to give you the caller identification information. And then down below it's going to blink the key, and then it'll put the caller ID across the line. So it replaces your extension with the caller identification information. Once you're on a call, if another call comes in, it'll give you a single ring spurt. It's then displaying the next caller ID up here, and it'll be blinking this line too. Now, the nice thing about this is I showed you earlier where the hold key was, but you don't have to press hold if you want to place the first call on hold and grab the second. You just tell them hold on and then press the second key. It'll automatically put the first caller on hold. So the only time you really need the hold key is if you're going to go grab a file or something, you want to place them on hold so they hear some music rather than hear your office background music noise. But if you just want a quick way to do it, you just hit the second line key button and you're grabbing that second call and putting the first one on hold. If for some reason you go up and you hit the hold key first and then go over to line 2, it'll still work. It just is, a quicker way. And again, you're on page 1. you got 2 more pages. To access those other pages, you have these silver keys down below. It's hard to see in this picture, but you just hit left or right arrow. It'll scroll to the next page. So if you ever come to your phone, it looks blank. It's just probably because you're on the wrong page. Just use the silver key to get to the page 1 here. And you can see that's listed down here. Okay. Talk about that applications key. We kind of talked about it briefly. That's where all those settings are. That's where some features are housed. So let's see, when you press that key, that's that blue key, you're going to see this display come up. Now you can see everything below this line is kind of what it's offering you. You see above that, it's just offering you to close. It says select an item below. So let's kind of talk about what's here, and then what we're trying to achieve is to set up one of those blank keys. But I'm going to quickly tell you the other things on here. First thing is voicemail. You don't have to worry about that. That's a visual voicemail thing you won't use. Call history, you can see here the call history light is lit up. It's just lit up anytime you miss a call, and you can see it says missed calls. So anytime you miss a call, it's going to light that light, and it doesn't really mean anything. If you hit call history, it'll then let you choose from missed calls, received calls, and dialed calls. So you'll see the last 20 calls separated out like that. The next key down is your forward. This is where you're going to set up that forwarding, and you initially have to turn it on. But then you can go to the front page and turn it off. So if I wanted to set up my cell phone, but I wasn't going to use it right now, I could go ahead and hit the call forward key. It's going to put my cursor up top, up here, and I can just type in the number. And you're going to dial the number just like you're going to dial it from your desk. You're going to put in the area code, and you're going to press 9, the area code, and the phone number. Once you get those things listed in there, then you'll hit a key where this closed is. It'll say activate, and that'll turn it on initially. So you'll just close out, and then you can go to the front page and turn that on and off as you like. But this is where you'll set up the forwarding. This is for conference unit. You don't have those. Settings, that's where we're going to go next to set up the keys. But just briefly, here's your super key. That's where I talked about earlier. The key you're going to go to set up the ringtone if you want. It has 10 different ringtones. So if you're at your desk or you're away from your desk, you can kind of get to know your ring if you're around a bunch of people. The way this works is it's basically asking you a series of questions. You'll hit super key. Up in here, it's going to say different functions like forward, and you just say no, 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 no through all the functions until you come across one that says ring adjust. And when you see that, go ahead and say yes to that, and then it's going to say ringtone or ringtone, I believe. You'll say yes to that, and then it'll begin ringing. Then you can use the volume control there, kind of over here, the up and down arrow keys to scroll through those different ringers. When you find the one you want, just pick up and hang up your phone. It'll then save the last ringer it was ringing at. Okay. So that's a super key. If you have any problem with that, just play around with it a little bit. It's pretty easy. Call info is just information on the last call that came in. And then cordless devices has to do with if you're using a Mitel headset or handset. So I don't believe you guys have any of those. So we're going to go into settings. So we want to go ahead and press settings next. So here's what's under settings. Programmable keys, that's what we're going to look at. But just quickly, you got languages, text size. This is large, believe it or not. You can go smaller. The smaller is meant to, so you can see all the caller ID, name, and number easily. Call notification, stay away from that. It puts up a box on your phone to notify you when you have calls. Don't know why. It's not a very good function. I don't like it, but you can play with it if you turn it on, turn it off if you want. But if you get a box showing on your display, that's what that is. You go back through and turn it off. Brightness and contrast has to do with how bright the display is, how deep the lines are. I probably won't have to mess with that. Screensaver, it turns off the phone. You don't need a screensaver nowadays, so I would just not use that because it looks like your phone's broken until you touch the keys. So it kind of gets annoying. And you don't have to worry about the message key configuration. There's also settings 1 of 2. Most of these other things, audio feedback and that sort of thing, has to do if you are like a teleworker and maybe your internet's not so great. You can make some minor adjustments, but just minor ones. So we're going to talk about programmable keys. Let's look at that. So when you press programmable keys, it's going to say select a key to program or edit. So what it's asking you to do is below this hard line, any blank key, you just press the key, and then that's what you're going to be programming. Now remember, you have these 3 keys here, but you also have these silver arrow keys that'll get you to page 2 and 3, and you'll have 8 keys, these 8 keys here, available on those other pages. So you can pick which key you want to start programming. As soon as you press the key, it's going to change the display. It's going to say, okay, what do you want to make the key? So your choices really are just 2 choices. You can make it a feature, or you can make it a speed call. Speed call is an extension number or an outside number, okay? The other ones are just features that are available on the phone. Some of these, even if you program them, they're not going to work because you don't need like account code verification. There's a lot of just extras in there. Night answer, you're not going to be setting that up. Music is music on hold, so it's just whatever random music you guys have on hold, probably nothing that great. Phone book, you already have one, but you can see down below it says features 1 of 6. So there's actually 5 more pages of different features that are available. So you can look through those. If you see like transfer, you can make a new transfer key if you don't like the button, you know, that kind of thing. So dig through there, see if you see anything you like. But what we're going to do today is we're just going to set up a speed call or a private. The only difference between these two is a private speed call doesn't display the phone number. So if I want to put my home phone number on my phone, but I don't want people walking past my desk and seeing my home phone number, I'd make it a private speed call. If I don't care, I just make it a regular speed call. So either one of these will program the exact same way. So when you press that, it's going to say, okay, what do I want to make it? You know, once I press the blank key, it's going to say, okay, we got to label it and number it. So the first thing we want to do is edit information. Okay, you can see here it says clear key or save or cancel. Well, we're not going to save anything. We don't have anything. If we don't want to cancel. So, and we have nothing to clear. But again, if you weren't wearing that headset, you could choose that headset button key and then change that to be a speed call or a private speed call. Okay. We're going to edit the information. So go ahead and press edit information. The first thing it's going to do is move this cursor up here under label. And it gives you this cool little keypad or lettering pad, I guess. I'll show you how this kind of works. It's pretty simple. If I wanted to spell something like mom, all I have to do is press this button next to this line of letters and just press it continuously, slow but continuously. It'll move a little dark cursor across, and when I pause, it'll add the letter up top. So if I want to spell something like mom, I would just press this key very slowly but consistently till I get to the M. I pause, it'll add the M up there. Then I can start pressing it again. It'll move it over to the O, pause, it brings the O up. You can see here there's a space in front of the A, so if I wanted to put first name, space, last name, I can just press this key once. It'll move the cursor over. It says next and previous page. If you press those, it'll give you uppercase and dashes and dots and that sort of thing. So you got lowercase showing, but you can go to next and get your uppercase letters if you want to capitalize something or however you want to design it. So you can really put the label in the way you want. This is what will display on your phone. So it's nice. If you're used to initials or whatever, you can do those. It doesn't matter. So once you got the label in there just the way you want, you're going to hit edit number. When you press edit number, it's then going to move the cursor down to the number area like this. And it's going to ask you to go ahead and put in the phone number. If it's an outside number, like if I'm dialing mom, 9, the area code and phone number, just like when you're doing the forwarding or just like when you're dialing out of the phone. So 9 area code phone number. I don't need the 1 even if it's long distance. I do need the area code and phone number regardless if it's local or long distance. You can notice down below, and the way you're going to put this number is by using the keypad, just your regular keypad to dial the number. You'll see it show up there. You can notice down below you do have a flash and a pause. I'm not sure what you use the flash for in this case, but you could do a couple pauses if you had like a phone number and then a PIN number or some sort, like for a conference bridge or something. So you could put in the phone number, 9, area code phone number, and then put in maybe pause, 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 and then maybe a short PIN number. I notice on mine, it doesn't really give, if you have a big, huge number for the PIN number, it won't all fit. So it has to be a reasonable size code for it to work. Once you have it all in, you're going to say OK, and it's going to take you to another screen. It'll say save, and then you can save it and add another button if you want or close out of it completely. Okay. So you can see up here you have a backspace. So if you mess up the number, you can just backspace. And it also had that when you're doing the label, to backspace out and put another letter in there. Okay, so let's look at the next key, which is your message key. We talked about it briefly. That's the way you're going to access your voicemail. It's going to blink when you have new messages. But I want to talk about voicemail a little bit, kind of give you a little visual of it. And this is what that looks like. You're going to get a sheet similar to this, but in the boxed area is all the ways you can access your voicemail. You can notice up top, again, the initial passcode is 1111. It's going to have you change that once you get in. The boxed area is accessing it from your phone. We talked about that. Pick up the handset, hit speaker, hit that little envelope key, the messages key, and then put in your passcode. Initially 1111, but daily it'll be whatever you had chosen. The password doesn't expire, so you can put in something, remember it. You don't have to worry about like 6 months from now you have to remember a new one. When you're away from when you're at someone else's phone and trying to access it, say you're in a buddy's office or something and you want to get to your voicemails really quick before you leave the building, you'll press the same message key, but it's going to ask for their passcode. So what you'll have to do is hit star. It'll then ask for an extension number. You'll put in your mailbox number or your extension number, and then hit star again and put in your passcode. So it's a couple stars in there. So it's best to do it at your own desk, but if you need to, the stars will get you there. Kind of listen to it when you press the stars. It's kind of walking you through it as well. From outside, it's going to be really easy. If you call your own direct dial number, each of you has a phone number that rings directly to your desk. When you dial that number and you hear your own voice, your own greeting, you hit star. Once you hit star, it'll ask for your passcode and you're in. So pretty simple getting in. Now here's the kind of layout once you're in. The things you can do, it's really very simple. It's only 3 items. You can play a message, you can make a message, or you can go into your user options. Your user options are going to be things like changing your greeting, changing your name, changing your passcode. So real simple there. So playing a message, when you press the P key or 7 key to play the message, it'll play whatever new messages you have in order. And once it plays them, it'll give you options to play them again or answer the person by their caller ID. You can give it to another user. You can keep it or discard it. There's some cheats under here you may or not be able to see very well. Star is the big one. If you press star, it'll rewind 5 seconds. So if someone leaves you a message that says, call me back at whatever number they say really quickly and you didn't catch it, you can always hit star and listen to it again. You also have a fast forward 5 seconds by hitting pound. Don't know if you'll use that, but 1's kind of handy. If you hit 1, it pauses for 30 seconds. So if you're trying to listen to your messages and someone pokes their head in your office, you can hit 1 and pause it and talk to them for 30 seconds before it continues on with the message. So kind of handy. So that's playing your message. You can make a message from here. There's a lot of ways to make a message on this system. This is when you're in your voicemail, you can make a message, but you can also just call the person's extension. It'll ring their phone 3 times, 3 or 4 times, depending on the timers, and then go to their voicemail message, and then you can leave a message after that. So you could do it that way. You can also just use the key on your envelope key, press that key, hit star because you're not going to get into your own mailbox, and then dial that person's extension. And that'll leave them a message without ringing their phone. But you can go into voicemail if you like and do it from there. So you can press 6, put in the extension number you want to leave a message for, and then leave the message. After you leave the message, it gives you all these options, to review it, to delete and re-record it, to append it, means add to the end of it. So these are all options that you have. And then you also have delivery options that you can choose. So once you choose to do the message, you can mark it as confidential, which means they can't forward it to anyone else. You can ask for a return receipt, so it'll give you indicator when it's been listened to. You can mark things as urgent, which will move it to the front of their list and notify them when they get in that there's an urgent message for them. Or you can mark things for future delivery. So you can have things deliver at an hour later for some reason if you want to do that. So that's kind of your messages. And the last part is your user option. We talked about that. You can change your greeting, change your name, change your passcode. You can create a distribution list. It's kind of an old function, but you can create like 9 different distribution lists, which means that you can have a single number 01 through 09, and it could reach multiple phones out there. It takes a while to set up. When you choose that, it'll walk you through but you'll have to have handy with you a list of the extension numbers you want to send it out to. But if you have a team or something and you want to send a broadcast message out, you could do that. Most people just send email nowadays, but that's available to you. And you can also do the tutorial again. You'll never probably use that feature, but if you want to go back through the tutorial, you can do that. So that's just kind of a neat little flow of how the voicemail works for you. So that's all I have. Hopefully that helps you kind of navigate the phone. You'll get used to it pretty quick. Remember, again, your initial passcode is 1111 for your voicemail, and make sure you press 9 for an outgoing line, an area code and phone number, and you're going to be in really good shape. Remember, if you accidentally dial 911, stay on the line and let them know it was an accident. It does happen a lot when we first put it in, because you're dialing 9 and people are used to dialing the 1 for the area code. It's real simple to make that mistake. So, you know, just make sure you stick with it and let them know it was a mistake, so they don't have a bunch of people calling back or even dispatching out. So thanks very much for your time. I appreciate it, and you have a fantastic day.